Hi Reza, Tal here. I wanted to use this video to take a step forward into technical discussion on code signing. There's always two parts in the code signing process. There's a InfoSec guys with the checklist and the procedure, what need to happen, how the key need to be protected, and there's a developers that are on the clock to create code and to sign it. Here on this picture you can see different projects. This is project 1 with different teams, and each team has its own environment. In regular organization you may have many projects, and each project needs to have its own procedures and the keys. So the whole concept of project and environment, it will come handy when I will explain how configuration works. But before I move forward, let's talk about the main approaches for code signing. The one option, it's a local code signing. It's when developer owns code signing certificate and sign code locally. He is in full charge of entire life cycle for code signing process that from InfoSec standpoint create a lot of questions. How key is being stored in this developing environment, and who can get an access to this, and how key is being used, what code being signed by those keys. Another option is to remote code signing. It's when developers, they need to deliver files or libraries that they need to be signed to InfoSec side, and something will happen within InfoSec. Obviously some procedure will follow, and then assigned code go back to dev environment. Here we're talking about megabytes or gigabytes of traffic that need to be pushed to InfoSec side. We're talking about scalability of the signing solution, SLAs. Many times in such environment, InfoSec guys might find themselves as a bottleneck to a procedure. And also we talk about the extra steps or what need to be done, how developer actually takes this code and how he publish it for InfoSec to sign it. Those are two main approaches that happens today, and I will show in a second how Venafi find the common ground between two and address all main concerns. In the concept of those megabytes and gigabytes, we need to understand what happened under the hood. So when developer code for code signing tool, it generates a hash of this library or executable file that developer intend to sign. And then this hash being signed with a code signing private key. Next, the code itself, the cryptographic signed hash and code signing certificate combined all together and delivered to consumer as code signed artifact. Venafi next-gen code signing solution allow developer to request a code to be signed without leaving his IDE tool. As soon as developer requests code to be signed, a local processor will calculate hash of this code and will deliver hash to Venafi backend. Venafi will check incoming request against pre-configured policy. It might reject it. It might involve a workflow for additional approvals. If everything is okay, Venafi will reach out to private key that can reside within HSM. It will perform a cryptographic signing of hash and will return it back to requester. The same code signing executable file that was launched by developer will combine a code itself, signed hash, and code signing certificate into the package and will create a digitally signed artifact. If I go back and we're one step before a real configuration, I just wanted to recap on the project and environment concept. The project will define developers, the signing keys, workflow that are defined by InfoSec. Environment, as it sounds, will allow us to have more detailed control on the workflow, key use, and additional parameters per working environment. For example, prod, dev, QA. So now let's go and configure a system and try to sign some code. With a 19.3 installed on the system, I will start Venafi configuration console. I will see that Venafi code signing not available for me. So I will go under products, licenses, and I will make sure that code signing license is enabled. Now I have license in place. I also need to check that two services here started and enabled. If you have HSM backend not installed, on the right you will see option to install this service. Let me go and restart Venafi platform once I enable code signing license, and let me restart my VCC. Now Venafi code signing option is available. It's a snap-in, and if I open it, one thing that also important to mention is default locations from code signing standpoint. So you can see it's the same tree, same policy tree, but it points to predefined folders that already been created on the system. One thing to see here, it's key users may not have other roles on the project. So if I select this option, the key user will not be able and be approval or project manager. It's important from a role separation standpoint. I can go ahead and start to create objects, but to make it quick, we have in a package a sample code signing objects. So I will go to Venafi folder, and I will use a schema tool to import XML file that you can see in a schema folder. I will type my password. Now I'm going to close my VCC and open it again. So let me real quick explain what you see here. Those are branches and steps that Venafi administrator need to do ahead of the time. So for example, we will create a template for Trusted CA Authority. Let's create one for DigiCert. I will click on create. I will have some description here. Now I need to create API key to connect to DigiCert. A location for this key will be under code signing credential. As a default value was taken from this branch. I click on create here, and object name, let's do it DigiCert admin. Who's the contact? I click on create. Now I need to provide my API key, and I click on save. Once I have key created and specified as API key parameter, I can go ahead and retrieve templates that DigiCert offered to me. I will choose code signing. Organization will be pre-populated from my template on DigiCert, and this is how I create my DigiCert CA connector. The next one is the flows. I have two flows right now. It's one is no restrictions. It's when developer asks for code to be signed and it will happen without anyone involved. Or I have a simple key use approval. This is where key approval will get an email or notification about a request, and he can make a decision what to do about it. Environment template, we spoke about concept of environment. So here we created two environments, one for developing and one for release. So let's make some changes to environment so we can see how it works differently. I have my authority, can select the DigiCert, and I will add it. Now I have option to choose between the two CA servers. I have a keys that I would like to use different sizes for those keys. Key storage, if I would have HSM connector, I would see here HSM option. Same as we have in the policy folder, we can pre-configure country, we can pre-configure other parameters. Organization unit, for this one, going to be production, and organization itself, company ABC. We want to lock a company name here. If I refresh, you will see my policy and company ABC was locked here. Do same thing for developing environment. Here we have only self-signed CA, lower key size, We can use dev as organization unit and the city. So now I have a different requirement for developing and release environment. One thing to mention is a signing flow. Here in release, I will have simple key use approval. This is where I will require somebody's approval. But for developing, there is no restrictions, and it means that I can get a code signed for my developing environment straight away. Now, under signing applications, you can see groups of what we call collections for applications. The reason why we have it is there is a different versions of signing tools, and you can see here those are known to the system by 4 different parameters. One is the hash of signing tool, the subject for signing a certificate, and I will show you in a second what it means, the issuer, and location. So let's add additional application for our code signing collection. I will start with application itself. Let's call it ABC. Now I have those 4 parameters. Let me populate it straight from the signing tool. You can see that I have all 4 taken from the file. In regular environment, based on your project, it might be acceptable to only stay with subject and issuer information on the specific file, as the version can change and update can happen. But if it's still being signed by the same issuer and the same subject, it might be good enough for most of environments. I have this ABC, and now I want to add it to a collection of sign tool. I will go and type ABC, and now I can use this application as a part of this collection. We will see where this collection comes to play in a few minutes. The last thing that we need to take care is to promote somebody to be administrator. We created this simple object, a code signing administrator. Now, if I want to create anyone else, I will go and log on to the system. I can search users from Active Directory, or I can search for local users. So let's go ahead and let's log on with a sample code signing admin through Aperture. So let's switch our view to code signing. We see dashboard statistics, how many code signing operations were created through the time. We will go to projects, and part of those objects that we inserted ahead of the time is a sample project. So if I click on the project, one thing that I can see is a statistic per this project. I can see environment that we created. We have developing environment, we have production environment. Rules and restrictions. We have per environment IP ranges that the request can come from. We can have a more global restriction on the tools that we use in our environment. So it can be sign tool, it can be ABC tool that I created a snapshot a second ago. I also can add additional options. If I don't want to add restrictions, I will leave this window empty. Users and approvals, you can see I have owner, I have key user, auditor, and approval. Let me save this project. And the next, let's switch to developer window and see what he needs to do. I'm on the developer workstation. I'm going to install Venafi CSP. So take a note that I do it from administrator command prompt. The process is fairly straightforward. The next thing that you see, it's a wizard that will allow me to identify a Venafi server and credentials that I'm going to use. So my Venafi server, it's the system will automatically type this WED HSM, and for this reason, if you remember, we spoke about two services that need to be running. And in my case, I didn't start this authentication server, so I will need to create one. And once I've done it, you can see it say started. Now we will try it again. And I'm going to use username, my sample code signing user with his password. So configuration done. When I close, the next thing that I see is the console that shows me what keys that I can use, what environment those keys available to me, and based on this environment, different workflow will happen. So let me go ahead and show you a signing process. I have my application example 1, and right now this is a piece of PowerShell code. If I will involve my sign tool, and I will do example 1, on the first attempt to sign code, operation system responded that there's no code signing certificates, but at the same time it triggered refresh mechanism for Venafi CSP, and my immediate retry already show me those two keys. So you can see those exactly two keys that I see being granted to me from my project. So now let me go and sign example 1. So I will do -n, and I will specify a certificate that I want to use for this exercise. So you can see that I was able to assign this example PS1. If I open the file, you can see there's the signature block here in the file. Now let me remove it again. And let's try to sign it with a production certificate. So I will use sample ink. At this time, because I have process for require somebody to approve, you can see that me as developer, I got this message. Let's log on to Aperture with sample code signing approval permissions. I would use a sample. I will go to my approvals tab, and I will see pending approvals. So I have requests waiting for me, and I can choose what to do. Here's a bunch of information that we capture as a part of this request. I know who asked for this code to be signed, what certificate, what command line was used at the machine the request came from. I can approve it for a single use. I can approve it for a number of users if we expect to have a multiple signing. I can enable unlimited use till a certain day if I know that this project is going to be in use. Let me go with a single use. I can add comments, and I click on approve. Now developer get notified that he can go ahead and sign this code again, and now you can see that he was able to perform his job without any distraction. If I'll go again and I save the file, and I'll try to involve this command one more time, because the approval that I got was only for one use, this is a notification that a developer got again. Let's talk for a second, what does it mean to be part of the project, and how administrator can create additional projects and enable additional key to be used by this developer. I will go back this time as an admin, and under projects I'm going to add additional project. Let's call this project Demo 1. And here I will define what environments will be available for this project. So I have developing and I have release. For developing environment, I have settings already pre-configured for me. I will click on add. So let's say for this demo we have only developing environment. I click on next, and I have the owner for this project. This is the project owner. Now let's see who is my users. So I'm going to add sample user again. I will assign the same developer we work with to additional project. I will use the same concept of approval and auditor. Click on next. Permitted applications. I can select applications that are supposed to be used in this project, and I will submit for approval. I will go to approvals and pending approval. So you can see that I have a new project requested by, in my case it's myself, but usually you will see individual who was in charge of this project, and you can see what environment this project for. I'm going to approve or deny. I can see more information about requirement for the code signing. I'm going to approve it. Now I can see that 2 projects are enabled. Let's go ahead and see what it changed from developer standpoint, because now I have this developer assigned for additional project. If I go refresh my screen, you can see that I have an access to additional certificate that can be used. So if I go back to my command line, and if I try to sign my certificate once more time, so now you can see I have 3 certificates here. The first time when I refreshed it, I still saw only 2, but at very next second I saw this additional certificate come to me. Let's go and sign example 1 PS1 with dev certificate. I was able to do it. The code is signed again. Now if I will go to backend and I will check on my project, you will see this is already was done 1 signature here. If I go to my sample, you can see I have 4 signing operation been done, and the user can operate his certificate. But let's say this user, sample user 1, not anymore part of this sample project. So if I go sample project, if I go under users, I will take this user out. Let me add some other user like a TPP user. I will click on save. At the same moment, I will go and refresh my developing environment, and you can see that I don't have an access to this certificate anymore. If I go and run this command again, the sign tool does not ask me anymore because it's only 1 certificate that's available to me, and I just use it. Thank you for watching, and see you on my next video.